Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. I've been battling with myself back and forth on exactly how to start this show because part of me just wants to rip into the team and shred them for a fucking horrible series down in D.C., which it was. A split is horrible, tragic, pathetic, an embarrassment. Fuck you. You suck. That's what it is. But the Zack Wheeler news makes baseball feel irrelevant, not important, and somewhat silly. So I guess we'll start with Zack Wheeler, and then we'll transition into the not-so-serious stuff. Unfortunately, real life does happen. And as much as I love using sports as my escape, and I like doing this as an escape, and I like to get lost in the sports world, sometimes it intertwines. And this is one of those times. I was on the air when the news dropped, and I went speechless, which is a bad time to lose your thoughts. I looked up at the TV, which was on mute, obviously, in the studio, and I saw Dave Dombrowski and the athletic trainer meeting with the media. And I looked over at my producer through the glass, and I'm saying, dude, in what world are they talking? Where's Rob? What is happening? And then I refreshed Twitter, and I see that Zack Wheeler has a blood clot that's by his right shoulder, and my heart sank. I had that awful, anxious feeling of just a pit in my stomach. I don't even feel right talking about the timeline of baseball or anything. It's just about him getting right, him doing everything in his power to be there for his kids, for his wife, for his family, for his loved ones. I don't even feel comfortable talking about what some of the doctors say online, the ones that are very popular with dissecting sports stuff. Some have 250,000 followers and all that, and they're weighing in about blood thinners, and it's going to take a long time, and there's a good chance his season's over. But I don't really care about his season. I care about Zack Wheeler making sure there's no blood clot issue. I'm in the mindset of I don't even have him on my timeline of Phillies baseball and Phillies playoff baseball. Let's send all the prayers, thoughts towards him and his family. And we hope and pray that everything goes as smoothly as it can in a very uncomfortable situation. And that's what we need to do. So I'm going to tie a bow on that. We'll now flip gears into the obnoxious Broad stuff, but I want it to be known that this does feel irrelevant to what I just laid out. All right, so here we go. Unacceptable. Flat out unacceptable! I keep getting hit with this. But Broads, they went 6-4 on a road trip. Shouldn't that actually be okay for you? You're not using all the details. Let me give you some more substance. They started out fucking 4-0. That 6-4 hits different now, huh? They're blowing 6-0 leads. They're blowing 11-6 leads and sweating it out in the ninth inning in a 17-hour baseball game against a squad that sucks baloney. I don't even know what that means. I haven't used the word baloney in probably 20 years, but they suck. And I don't want to hear for a second that, well, they actually have young... Come on, shove the young talent crap up your rear end. I had to deal with the shadows were bad on Saturday. Shove the shadows up your ass. I had to deal with the travel was very difficult to go from Cincinnati to shove the travel up your ass. I don't care about the excuses. Here's the truth. You guys were terrible. Terrible. All across the board. Since your first 4 wins on the road trip. That's my takeaway. And then even the Aaron Nola stuff. I'm a Nola guy. Let's get into it. I am extremely disappointed in him, and here's why. I think he's better than that. He hasn't been all year. I looked at the injury. He missed a serious amount of time. I figured you're healthier. Your body's feeling better. You're more well-rested. Your team desperately needs you. You're on the road against a team that blows. Show up. And he did for the first 2 innings. Then the third happened. But again, I have expectations of Aaron Nola actually being a solid starter. Here's where it's very contradicting. There's a lot of Aaron Nola haters out there, and you know who you are, that have been bashing him from day one, saying he sucks, he's a stiff, he's a bump. Well, if you feel that way, and then he has a bad outing, you don't have any say on being mad. You think that's who he is. If that's who you think he is, then he's giving you what he is. I have the right to be angry and aggravated because I believe that he still has a great version of Aaron Nola in him. Do I think we're going to get it this year? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we don't get it this year. But this narrative that, oh man, this is the worst contract in Philadelphia Phillies history. Shut up. I wouldn't be shocked if we look back at this particular season and go, whoa, that was a rough one. But that doesn't compare to anything else he's ever had. We're going to deem 7 year. You're acting as if a professional athlete can have solid production for 10 years, have a bad season, and that's who he is forever? Is that automatic? That's who they become for the rest of time? He's not 37. I believe he could have a bad season and still be a good pitcher. But this may be a bad season. That's my stance on it. The worst contract in Phillies history. Oh, shut up. That is such an overreaction. He just signed the deal. And the whole league was ready to pay Aaron Nola a fat bag because that's what his market is, based off of his excellence prior to the contract, which he was excellent. I believe he still has the excellent Aaron Nola in there somewhere. It's just, we got to work with this. It's not going to happen easily, and it may come with some bumps in the roads. And I didn't necessarily anticipate it, but you don't have those type of years consistently and not have something in your bag. He's not a 99, 100 guy where his arm gets shot and it's completely cooked because of the velocity and the intensity of the throws. So we got to work with this. I'm starting the hashtag Nola's back 2026. I don't know how I feel about 25. Actually, I do know. I'm out. Ish. Not really. But I'm not feeling great about it. I'm not out. This one just hurt me. And hurt me more than I've ever been hurt by the Aaron Nola experience because I was hoping that the time off would help him out. Now, I can maybe utilize the mindset of it was his first start and he needs to get back to getting comfortable. I'm not buying into it, though. I'd be lying to you if I said that just to stick with the bit. And it's not a bit. I believe this. But there is a bit involved. Aaron Nola's back 2026. I'm not ruling out his career forever. But that third inning was terrible. Single, walk, single, 2 doubles. Now, fans are actually mad at Rob Thompson because they wanted Rob Thompson to pull him in the third inning right away after 3 singles. You should have known I think that is the dumbest comment I've ever heard. And a lot of you owe Rob Thompson a massive apology for the way he used Duran the other night. You should be able to beat the Nats with the 4-run lead without using your closer. Well, you fucking can't. You can't. Sorry. But if you're telling me Zack Wheeler's not available, Aaron Nola gets back into the rotation, and after looking great in 2 innings, you as a manager watch him give up 3 singles, and you think that's time to pull a starter in August of Aaron Nola after 3 singles? You never survive as a manager if you think that's the right way to pull your starter. And this isn't Taiwan. First off, it's not a playoff game, okay? I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm talking regular season against the Nats when someone's coming back from a rehab injury with a rehab start with the Iron Pigs. He comes up. He's working through this. You need to give Aaron Nola a leash to work through these singles. Now, he failed, but giving him a leash to work when he does allow a few hits, even a walk, I don't blame him. This isn't Game 7 of the World Series. There are certain pitchers, Zack Wheeler, Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, Crochet. I'm just naming guys off the top of my head here, right? There are certain guys, and I don't think Aaron Nola is necessarily on some of their levels, of course. I think there is a Zack Wheeler tier, and then there's a tier underneath of that Aaron Nola lives. But my point is, there's a certain amount of guys that deserve more respect than others. And if a 3rd inning against the Washington Nationals and 3 singles is when you pull the plug, then you're an embarrassment to managing. When it's one of those guys that deserve leashes. Now, if Vince Velasquez was on the mound, different story. If Bailey Falter's on the mound, different story. If Noah Syndergaard, when you picked him up during that late stage and he tried to be the inning eater 5th starter and things got rough there for a little bit, fine. But based off this particular instance, this isn't Game 7 of the World Series. I saw nothing wrong with how Rob handled Nola. Later in the game, Lazard Duran, different story. Different story. I can't believe that happened. I'm sitting there in the 9th inning going, they're going to lose this game. And for a while there, when I looked at all the relief pitchers that the Nationals were throwing your way, I thought it was physically impossible to lose. So the fact that I even doubted their victory is terrible. Their relievers today, you had guys, all of them, except for one, sniffing a 6 ERA. There was one guy who came out who had a 3 ERA. Everyone else was 6, except for the guy who had a 10 ERA. So, even though you gave up the 6 runs after a 6-run lead, you're going to win this game. It's physically impossible for the Nats to survive when you're throwing that much trash on the mound. You will expose that just by default. And the fact that it was still in question, where you maybe still might lose, makes this more unacceptable than anything I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? With that Zack Wheeler thing, here's my worry and concern from a Phillies level. They may use this as an excuse. At the end of the road, if this goes the way I expect it to, they may say, and I feel very funny even bringing this up because it's not that important in the grand scheme of his health. But are we going to hear Rob and Dave Dombrowski say, this thing went off the rails and we lost a lot of firepower when Zack Wheeler had the blood clot? And to that I say, Dave, you're delusional. This thing was off the rails even before that. See, I didn't think they had enough when Zack Wheeler was here. Even Zack Wheeler at his top. I still wonder about this team. Now, I mean, I still feel horrible. Not much has even changed in that department. I still feel the same way about this group because there's so many issues with so many other things. Sure, Bohm returned and hit a home run. That's awesome. Took advantage of some Nationals errors. They probably should have been out of that inning with a double play, but DeYoung over at first base, there was some sloppiness. Third base, there was some sloppiness, and you're supposed to pound teams when they shoot themselves in the foot, and to their credit, they did. But am I now expecting Bohm to be a power bat? No. He may not even hit another home run this year. And Casty hit a homer. What does that mean? Is he ready to get super hot? I don't know. I got to see him do it again. I'm sure a hot streak is coming at some point. But my main concern when it comes to them dissecting what went wrong with this group when it's all over with is Zack Wheeler's health is why they didn't win. And they didn't look at the truth, which is, well, that's a massive hit. You think that's why this team's coming up short? I got news for you. And knowing what I heard from them last year when they lost to the Mets in the NLDS and one of the worst press conferences in Philadelphia sports history happened, I'm preparing for it. And that pisses me off. What doesn't piss me off, though, come on now, my friends over at Amelio Cigars. Look at these beauties. Are you kidding me? A 4-pack. A 4-pack of Amelios. I got another one right here. Hold on. Oh, man, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I smoke an Amelio cigar every night. It helps me relax. It tastes so damn good. There's only one cigar to smoke. That's an Amelio cigar. Old school roots, new school attitude, and made at the Fabrica Oveja Negra in Nicaragua. This is as serious of a cigar as you are going to find on the market. I can't explain to you how much I enjoy relaxing, putting my feet up on the back porch, listening to the summer sounds late at night, you know, just the noise of what is summer nights. It's starting to get darker outside, right? You can see it getting darker. It's just, oh, it's so good. And then you look to your left, and in your hands, oh, in between your pointer and your middle, oh, there's just a fucking great Amelio, and it just, oh, it's so good every single puff. Oh, it just hits the spot. You got to join me. If you're a cigar smoker, there's never going to be another cigar that tickles your fancy as much as an Amelio cigar would. So you can go to their website right now with the link down below in the description. Use promo code Brodes10 for 10% off your purchase. It is a no-brainer. The amount of people that hit me up saying, Brodes, dude, you're not kidding. Would I steer you the wrong way? That's what I said back. Would I ever tell you something that's not true? You kidding me? Do you know one thing about me? Check out the information down below. Here's another thing that ticks me off. Okay, so who's the greatest in the league thing? The narrative out there is there's no real team that is super scary. The Brewers don't lose, but they're not going to be able to stay that hot forever. At some point, they'll cool down. I think they are a beatable bunch. They're just not a beatable bunch in this particular moment, unless they find this surge again in October or they keep it straight through from now until October, which would be a magnificent journey out of them. I think they do become more vulnerable at some point. But I'm aware that it's not as if the Dodgers are the scariest team in the world. It's not as if the Cubs or the Reds or the Mets or what's the other team I'm missing? The Padres, right? They're not so lethal that the Phillies don't have a chance of matching up against those teams. And I agree with that. For the optimists out there, that's normally their number one reason on why they feel this team has a crack at it. No one else is that scary. And I won't take that away from you. You are 1,000% correct. But this is what upsets me about that. When I personally think about embracing a playoff run, I reflect back to last year's Eagles team. Do you know why I went in to every game in the playoffs so confidently? when Green Bay or the Rams were coming to town. It was very simple. It went something like this. Lane Johnson doesn't fucking get beat. I don't care who you have as a pass rusher. I don't care about Jared Verse. I don't care. We have the best offensive line. Fuck you. Do you really think Saquon, after the magical season he had, was going to get slowed down? Now, the only reason why he did was because you had to sell your soul in the Super Bowl, and you saw how the Eagles were able to take advantage of that on the biggest stage, going up 46 and pantsing your ass. So my point is this. The reason why I felt great, number one on my list, had nothing to do with who the opponent was. It's because we were amazing. It's because we were dominant. It's because we had the best leader in Jalen Hurts, who was ready to get under center and dominate, or in shotgun. I always say under center, in shotgun, okay, in shotgun. We kept going back to the Eagles and what they do. If I have to say the Phillies have a chance because of what the Padres don't have, what the Cubs don't have, what the Mets don't have, while this could lead to a championship run, very small percentage chance, and if they happen to do that because of the failures of everybody else, I'd still enjoy the fact that they are World Series champions. I won't take that away from anybody. But that's not how I like to attack a playoff run. Let me give you 4 reasons why the Phillies are going to win. They lead the league in home runs. They don't strike out. Their starting pitching is the best we've seen. I'm being hypothetical here, but that's what I want to roll into the playoffs with. Nothing is baseball related. Nothing is what they do. Starting pitching is a disaster. And Christopher Sanchez now has to step up and be this dominant force. And for a few days there, I was talking to myself saying, well, now Sanchez has to be a 1. And it's a lot different than when Wheeler's there and Sanchez is a nice complimentary to Wheeler, and then Sanchez has to carry the entire pitching staff on his shoulders. Not saying he can't do it. He's actually earned enough respect from me that I'm intrigued to see if he could do it. But that's different. It's like Brandon Marsh. When Brandon Marsh was red hot batting 8th, that's a nice spot for him to be in. When you have to move him up to 5 or 4, not 4, but 5, to be more of a contributor with RBI, and you got to, because other guys aren't living up to their standard and expectation, then that pressure of what Brandon Marsh needs to be hitting 5th in the middle of your order as a run producer, it has a different feel to it. It's not apples to apples, but Sanchez behind Wheeler is different than Sanchez being the give me the ball, I'm your ace, give me the Dodgers' best 3 guys over and over and over again. Let me get through 3 times through the road of the order and let's go. Like, that's a totally different attitude. Zack Wheeler'S don't grow on trees. And I'm not telling you Sanchez can't do it with that nasty changeup, but there's a reason why Zack Wheeler is special. There's not many of them. And maybe Sanchez can be it. I am not ruling it out. But even if he is, you don't have enough following that. We're now in a position where Taijuan Walker might be your move in the playoffs, which he's been okay. But that's sad that that's now where we are when we once looked at this staff as one of the best rotations in the history of the sport. The Sanchez thing, though, I was listening to Scott Fransky and Stocker on the broadcast on the radio, and one thing they brought up was it's probably not a good idea to ask Sanchez to be Wheeler. Let Sanchez be Sanchez. And to use the Eagles comparison again, I actually went, that's interesting, because when Brandon Graham got hurt, we kept talking about needing the team to fill the hole of Brandon Graham. But I remember saying, you know what? I don't know if that's necessarily true, because you can't duplicate Brandon Graham's personality. The reason why Brandon Graham is one of one and special is because Brandon Grahams are hard to come by. What you need to do is ask Nolan Smith and Jay Lickson and Josh Sweat and Milton Williams and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to step up a bit give us what they normally give us and a bit more to make up for the loss. And then you have to create a new identity and brand without BG because you can't replace BG. And maybe that same mindset is how Sanchez has to think about it. You don't have to be Wheeler. You don't have to be Wheeler. If you start thinking you have to be Wheeler, then maybe things get off the tracks. Be Sanchez. We got to build this staff differently now with attitude and edge and flair and fire without wheels. We'll do it a different way. But if we focus so heavily on how do we, fix the whole of wheels and we got to figure out being wheels, like, no. What are we without wheels? And it's just a mentality thing. We're getting to the same point, but it's the way you approach it. And maybe that could play a role in the way they get it done or not. I don't know. You're also dealing with the Nick Castellanos being out of the lineup thing. See, this is why when Nick Castellanos is out of the lineup and they put Kepler in, he's grounded out into a double play and it doesn't really do you anything. All right, Kepler's in instead of Nick. Woohoo, Nick's getting benched. Grounds out into a double play. Couple base runners on, nothing. Flat. Then I have to hear, well, he hit it hard. Getting unlucky. Please. I don't want to hear that. Rube was fired up, though, on Saturday because Taijuan Walker, he gave up those 2 runs, right? They lost 2-0 that game, which you got shut out by that team. Shame on you. The double play depth that Trey Turner was at. He wasn't mad at Trey Turner specifically. He was mad at maybe the way the organization was handling that situation on the base paths, and it costed them. And I was thinking, well, you know what? 2 days ago, we had the same conversation about where they were lined up defensively that costed them. So that's just another wrinkle to add in this. They don't play smart. They don't play smart. But I am smart when it comes to my lawn because I went to the experts over at Green Lawn Fertilizing, and I can't thank them enough for all that they have provided for me. They are so smart. They sat down and educated me on all the details with my lawn and how we were going to go from, wow, your lawn needs help badly and it needs to recover, to a luscious lawn. They're actually coming in a couple of weeks for another phase, and we'll start the aeration process, and I'm super excited for it. I needed help. I did the DIY thing for a little bit, and I ended up really hurting stuff, and I made it worse. And you don't want to follow those footsteps. You don't want to make a mistake, and then you have to do double the work to get it to where it needs to be. So just forget about it. Don't put yourself through that pain and misery, and you call the experts at Green Lawn Fertilizing. And we know about the 50% off your first 2 treatments, which you can find down below in the description, right? You get 50% off your first 2 treatments with that link. They are also getting ready to start, and I just want to sprinkle this in there so you have the information. They are getting ready to start a new deal, which is 1 free application and 100% off aeration and seeding as part of their fall recovery program. So that's something else you can add to the mix as well. They really become family. They're more than just a lawn service. They sent me and my wife some really cute onesies for my daughter who was born about a month and a half ago, and they sent Flyers and Phillies and Eagles and Sixer stuff, and I wasn't expecting that at all. I opened the door, there's a big box there, Green Lawn Fertilizing welcomes me, a Brody, to the world. I'm like, this is amazing. They are more than just people who help you with your house having a phenomenal personality due to the lawns looking amazing. And that goes a long way. It really does. I got a few other things here, but I think I hit on the main points. I'll take a couple of calls. Let's start with Zach in Baltimore.
Well, that was an eventful day down at the yard. I was sitting second row behind the Phillies dugout.
Ooh.
I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said I had a fantastic time the whole time. It was definitely exciting, but that was cardiac, man. I mean, Aaron Nola just blows up there in the 3rd inning. Shades of what he's been all year long. It's really, you just hate to see it. But to be positive, Alec Boehm really produced today. Had that 3-run jack. I got a great video of it. Really happy to see him back in the lineup. He is a welcome sight. I know we dog on him, but come in. You need Alec Boehm in this lineup. He is a big run producer. And I don't know what Rob Thompson's doing, not having anybody ready with Lazar at like 20 pitches there. You got to have somebody ready. The ranch should have been up and thrown before that, and you should not have to bring your closer in, but that's the state of our bullpen. It's always cardiac, man. It's just pain. Not a lot to be positive of, but hey, at least they split. On to Seattle. Let's win the series.
Oh, at least they split. Why did that hit me so hard? At least they split. Why? Because the alternative is they would have went 1-3. If that's the debate we're having, right? And I'm just having fun with you here. Hey, at least they split, and they could have went 1-3. 1-3. If this was a 3-game set, they would have dropped the series to the Nationals. They would have dropped this series. But that game was so painful. You're right, though. You do need Alec Boehm. I just don't know what Alec Boehm we're going to have. Is he your cleanup hitter? I mean, most likely he's not going to be rocking bombs, right? So what happens when he faces a team with a bit more to their pitching staff? And they're coming home. We know they like to play in front of this crowd. So I anticipate them looking stronger when they do get to CBP. But there's just so many things that I have no idea about. And when I think about winning a championship, how many times this late into August do you have this many questions? You know? And one thing I also keep getting hit with, if you can't tell, I've been spewing a lot of negativity, and there are some optimists that want to weigh in and share the other side, is, well, in 22, they weren't good until the end. 23, they weren't good until the end, and meaning the regular season stuff. You got to remember, 22 was not all glorious. It just hit you out of nowhere. 23, it wasn't glorious. It just was another ride late after a not-so-fun regular season. So why can't they do it again? And my counter-argument is, at that particular time in 2 and 3, in 22 and 23, they haven't been around each other as long as they have now. It's tight. It's tense. Emotions are high. I think you get sick and tired of people when you spend more time with them. Now you have Nick and Topper disagreeing heavily on their current state. I think personalities over the years, when the stakes are this big and when the failures have constantly happened, I think there's something to it just wears you down. And I think the personalities are in a totally different mindset today than they were that year and those 2 years. I think the pressure gets to you. You lose to the NLDS and the Mets. So that would be my counter argument. And now you don't have Zack Wheeler. So that's a huge hit because you're not getting to the World Series and the NLCS without Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler in those 2 years. Let's go back to the calls.
Bro, did that game really need to be that close? I mean, I can't even... I'm not going to talk about Aaron Nola. What I am so pissed about, though, is that you have a 5-run lead in the 9th inning. You're up 11-6. And Max Lazar, this fucking guy, cannot get 3 outs in the 9th inning? Dude, he gets the first out of the 9th inning, and then he's given up hard contact. He's given up a double. He's given up a home run on an 0-2 pitch. What are we fucking doing, dude? What are we doing? This dude should be fucking DFA tonight. Tonight. That is so unacceptable. You could throw out my 53-year-old mother in the 9th inning with a 5-run lead, and she would be able to close out the game. But not this fucking guy. That is embarrassing, dude. This team is 24 games under 500, and you can't close out a 5-run lead in the 9th inning? Get the fuck off the team, dude.
Oh, that's great. I love that call. Oh, that's phenomenal. That was a good call. Oh, man. Speaking of records, that was good. I got to be honest with you. That was good. I wish I could do a blind test. And what I mean is, you know those people that drink Diet Coke and they drink a lot of soda and they think you could put a cardboard box up and have all these sodas lined up with straws and they drink and they know every single one, the Diet Coke, the regular Coke, the Coke Zero, the this, the that, or the McDonald's Coke, the Burger King, whatever, all these different, the Arby's, the Wendy's, and they can name all the Cokes and where they're from and all that stuff. I wonder if you could pick any 10-game sample size out of this Philly season, right? You did not know their record and you watched any 10 games you wanted to all year long. Would anyone, the biggest optimist in the world, say that they'd be 70-something and 50-something? Here's the answer for free. Fuck no. No way. I am convinced, I'd put my mortgage on it for this upcoming month, that if we could somehow manage to pull off a blind test like that, not one person would think that they're 71-53. It's crazy, isn't it? We'll take one more call. We'll wrap up.
All right, so just watching the end of the Nats series. All right, first of all, Nola sucks. Let's just be straight about it. He sucks. End of the game, Topper. What the hell are you doing? How the hell, after the 3-run bomb to make it 11-9, do you not have Duran ready to go? You've got to be kidding me. I know you're a Topper guy, but holy Christ, what the hell are you doing, Topper?
I don't know. Now, I think Aaron Nola is sucking. I don't think he sucks. There's a difference. I think he isn't performing well, but I think he can perform well. Someone who sucks, it's just you are terrible. I think he's pitching terribly. I think there are great pitchers who do pitch bad. I think there are great pitchers who have rough stretches. I think this is a bad season for Aaron Nola. I don't think he sucks. I think he's sucking. The Topper thing, this is all I can keep coming back to. And it better change. These half-second too long moves, he's a second too long here, he's a half-second too long there. Well, I'm hoping it's just because the nature of the regular season compared to the postseason. Because you don't have the luxury of waiting around in the postseason. And Topper's a lifer. He's a baseball lifer. I think he knows that. Right? When you watch someone get on first base during a playoff run, the whole momentum of the inning potentially changes and the anxiety shifts. One guy on base. Everything is magnified. Everything's intensified. Topper knows that. I got to imagine that this 1 second too late thing here and all of it is more of a product of it's August and not October. Because you don't have to manage every regular season game like it's Game 7. And quite frankly, you shouldn't. It's impossible to, okay? It's impossible to. You can't. So there are different ways of managing. That's what I'm hoping this is. It's been around the game long enough. You better know that by now. With that, we close it down. Thank you guys all so much for kicking it with me. We'll talk on the next one.